Trump's attempt to wrestle back the election spotlight this week may have succeeded, but not in the way some of his allies hope. The former president, trying to appeal to religious and black voters, seemed to fall back to his default setting of divide and try to conquer.
Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
Donald Trump, who's made a concerted effort to reach out to black voters, questioning the vice president's racial identity during an appearance before black journalists.
So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
It doesn't seem to have been a mistake. At a rally hours later, the campaign displayed this headline: "Watch Kamala Harris sworn in as first Indian American senator."
Everything about Kamala Harris roll out, it's phony and it's fake.
Earlier in the week, Trump's focus was on religion,
My beautiful Christians, I love you. You gotta get out and vote.
urging key voting blocs to support him, while also attacking Harris.
She doesn't like Jewish people. She doesn't like Israel.
Harris's husband is Jewish, but that didn't stop Trump.
How does a Jewish person vote for a Democrat? How does a Catholic person vote for a Democrat?
Kristen, why is Trump questioning Kamala Harris's race? Is there a strategy here?
I don't know if there's a strategy. We know that Donald Trump is very driven by his impulses. We know that his impulses often lead him to say things that make people want to pull their hair out and go, can you believe this guy was our president, might be our president again? And I'm so used to hearing these things and getting asked, like, will this affect the race? And I'm used to thinking, no, it probably won't. But in a race that is going to be as close as this one, maybe in a race where it feels like nothing matters, everything matters, and there's a chance that what he's trying to do here is drive the message that she's phony. She's changed her positions on X, Y, and Z. She tries to be whoever she thinks she needs to be in the moment. But frankly, with his numbers growing the way they were among black men in particular, to go and be kind of openly weird and hostile about the race issue seems totally counterproductive to me.
You know, whether he just slipped in this by impulse or intended to do it after raising the race issue at the reporters' conference, Trump posted an old video of Harris and actress Mindy Kaling cooking together.
Okay, so what we're going to cook today is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that.
Now, Trump claimed this proves Harris is a stone-cold phony. She uses everybody, including her racial identity. Kara, what's going on here?
Well, you didn't play all of it. And in that clip, she also says, half of me understands this, which she was talking about being Indian and also black. And so he keeps Grandpa had a bad week. I don't know what else to say. I don't know why he does this. I don't know why he keeps focusing on race. If he wants to talk about her policy flip-flops, he should talk about her policy and not. That's where he would
But
always
Kara, you take this argument, she's phony, she's fake, she flips. She was Indian American, now she's black.
But she wasn't.
I understand, but to make that argument.
No, I don't think it's a good argument. I think it's a good argument if you want to argue about fracking or if you want to argue about immigration or anything else. But this makes no sense. I don't even understand it.
As Kristen mentioned, Trump has been making a major push to win black voters, especially young black males. In a recent poll, Harris leads among black voters 78% to 15%, but that's still closer than how Trump ran against Biden back in 2020. Lulu, does questioning Harris's race kill Trump's outreach to black voters?
It is ridiculous. And not only is it ridiculous, but, he seems to not understand the concept of being biracial. And frankly, it is the largest growing group among young people in this country. America understands what it means to be biracial. The fact that Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand this makes him look incredibly out of touch, not only offensive and not only racially insensitive.
Ryan?
So I don't think this is necessarily a good thing, but what I will say is that for a lot of Americans, particularly a lot of black Americans, there is some sense of discomfort about the fact that when you look at high-profile, high-status, successful black Americans, many of them are themselves multiracial, first or second generation Americans, immigrants or kids of immigrants, or they're themselves intermarried. there are some folks, there's a group called the American Descendants of Slaves, ADOS, a kind of emerging movement that you see in some spaces where people say, hey, wait a second, you have folks who are not part of this multi-generational, long Black American story who are claiming this mantle. I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing, Lulu.
I'm just
saying
shocked
that this is
an argument that you are putting forward.
This is something I'm talking about as an analyst to describe the fact that the Black community is not a monolith. There are a lot of complicated, conflicted feelings. More than twice as many Black Americans oppose intermarriage as white Americans.
Skin color is black, you're black. It is a completely ridiculous argument to be made in a country where you have the one drop, where you had the one drop rule, where you were actually penalized legally in this country if you had a single drop of black blood. To now say that this woman, who is clearly black, is somehow suspicious and is wearing a mantle and trying to assume some kind of ridiculous identity.
I'm describing public opinion. I'm describing the fact that this current does exist. And I think that when we're trying to understand the electorate, I think it's important to understand that this is one of those cleavages. I do not think that it was a good thing for Donald Trump to use this line of attack. I agree with Kara. Stick to policy.
This is not what Donald Trump was doing. You were trying to explain something. If you asked Donald Trump, what were you up to, Mr. Trump? He's not going to be like, you know, that there's this current in the African American community that talks about the descendants of slavery. Do you think that that is what he was up to? He was going there in order to do what he always does, which is to throw as much as he can against the wall and to see what
I'm afraid part of what I'm trying to do is actually try to give some insight into the fact that public opinion is changing, it's divided, and there is a big conversation about this. I don't think that this is the best angle to pursue, but I do think that when you're talking about the Black community, he's not looking to win 90% of the Black vote. He's looking at what are interesting cleavages and divides within that population, and this is one of them.
In addition to all that, there was the very explicit comments that Donald Trump made in his outreach to Christians and Jews. Kristen, is Trump's, and I put this in quotes, religious war working?
Well, Donald Trump has always made religious style rhetoric a part of what he does. When I was in Milwaukee for the convention, and when you looked at the footage of the convention, it felt very much like a tent revival. I mean, talking about faith, even though Donald Trump is not necessarily a person, he himself, I think, does not have a very credible faith story, he's somebody who, through selling $60 Bibles, has always tried to make the case, I think poorly, but it has been successful, at least in terms of polls, to voters of faith that he's the one that's going to defend their ability to practice their religion.
I think that works. The religion stuff works well for him. They're not going to go anywhere else, and they've shown the willingness to take him because he's such a sinner. They kind of even are attracted to that.
I can understand the Christian evangelical part of it, but explain to me the idea of him saying Kamala Harris hates Jews, especially when her husband is Jewish.
I just think he just puts it up there. He's throwing, again, what I think you're talking about, he's throwing up a lot of things to find out what will work. And that, to me, would work a little better than the black thing. The black thing seems like, he's...
To what degree, Kara, do you think...
He seems like the uncle at Thanksgiving who you literally want to not sit next to.
To what degree do you think this was Donald Trump? Kamala Harris has had the spotlight, has had all the attention for 2 weeks, and it was driving him out of his mind.
That is 100%. If this guy doesn't get love, I mean, he needs hugs all day long, and so he didn't get them.
Don't we all?
Yes. No, not like him.